Over a couple of years, it happened a couple of times. There were more than a couple of instances where basically a bunch of people had run through the cities or the towns, and they had forced people to sign everything over to them, and then they had killed them or just thrown them in jail or something like that, saying that they owed them money or something. And then, what happened is I found out about it, and some other stuff, and I forced them to give all the stuff back. I mean, it was over a couple period, over like 50 years that the war actually raged on. Basically, it started out as small stuff, and then it started getting bigger and bigger and bigger and worse and worse and worse until it was just clear that the black people were pretty much single-mindedly just raping and killing and doing whatever they wanted, and the Irish, and they made it look like the Irish were at fault, but the Irish were just defending their land and their territory, and just like the Germans and everyone else. And it was basically just a bunch of people just running around with tanks. And I had more tanks, though. So, some say, I was supporting a group of men and women and children and old people, basically. And pretty much just, I only trusted people with men and women and children and old people together, because, I don't trust just men, Anyway, though, women, yeah, and women I generally trust more, but anyway, though, basically everything was going south down there, and it was really bad, and so, I was siding with the Irish because, the Irish had helped me build my ships, and so I had the Japanese and the Chinese and stuff, so I was just going by what I knew of them, basically, that the Irish weren't the kind of people to run around raping and killing or hurting people, they only did what they had to do, and they just wandered, they just wanted to live and work, just like everyone else. So, and I went by what I knew of the tribal black people and said, well, they're basically warriors and killers and rapists. And I had kind of supported them because I thought they were protecting and doing this and doing that, but it turns out they were just raping and killing. So I was like, well, evidence is evidence. And I'm not going to back them anymore. I'm not going to support them or help them. So they didn't have access to my stuff or anything, and that's when they basically came out and said, "Well, fuck you, we never supported you, we were gonna kill you anyway, ah ha ha, stupid ass cracker, or white guy or whatever." It's like, I guess you know that I'm white then. Of course, my name is Lucifer White Star. So anyway, and the black people showed their true colors basically around World War I, World War II. Basically that they just didn't really give a crap about anyone or anything, and that they were just fine with smearing crap all over themselves and running through the streets, or whatever, or treating other people just whatever way they wanted to, because they thought they had the right or something. So anyway, around World War I, World War II, I was basically just an inventor and an investor and a very rich person, and pretty much the black people were basically like, we're going to take it all from you, blah, blah, or we're going to take everything from you and kill everyone that you ever cared about and kill this and kill that. Of course, like I say, Mr. Brown said that about everyone. He was, you could be like, ring, ring, Mr. Brown, and it'll be like, I'm going to kill you, and your brother, and your sister, and your mother, I'm going to rape everything. He said that, like my Irish people said, you could bump him on the street, or just not even bump him, just walk by him. Your shadow could touch him, and it'll just be like, we're going to come after you, I'm going to get you. And the truth was, he was going after people he had threatened, he was going after people he didn't threaten. He was just going at, like, he would just pick a house down the street, and basically him and his boys would go, his papa's boys would go and just basically break down the door and go inside, and they would try and say whatever they could, and at first they had weapons, and it looked like they owned the place, but then later on, as time goes on, more and more things came out. And then, like I said, like somewhere around 1920, 1930, they shot a bunch of people at one of the Olympic Games on TV, on live TV. And most people didn't have TVs back then, so they didn't see it. But then but the radio announcers, just basically said what they saw, pretty much described the scene, and everyone found out about them. So, and that was like somewhere around 1920 or 19 somewhere, and then the world turned on them basically and kicked them out of all the towns. And black people said, "No, it's not us. It's not us. We're not part of it." But they were actually part of it. I mean, you looked around and you found out that all these black people owned all this stuff, and they didn't really own anything. You find like a missing person or someone, or something, is all just make believe, made up. I mean, you know, like right, this is written on paper, and that gave them validation, and then they had just killed off anyone who could say different. So, and then some other black guy would pop into town saying that he owned it. They had bought it from the guy before he died or something. Anyway, I don't really know. Like you have to ask Ireland and all those other places. I just know about the war and stuff and how because most of the stuff was actually my property or connected to me in some way. So Lucifer White Star Alliance. So I mean, I had my name on the ships for a reason. Big letters, Titanic, Lucifer Star. I wasn't just a shipping and on the tugboats, Lucifer Star. And they tried to like paint over my things. When they killed the people and said they owned the place, they painted over my things and they put something else, Anton or something like that. I think they repainted it and said it made it look like Anton, which was actually this black guy. So they were just doing all this stuff and just basically wrecking the place. So you look at the Belfast shipyard now; it's stripped, and it was worse. It was burned. So it was a wreck. They wrecked the whole town even. They had to rebuild the whole place. So, and, whatever. And they wrecked every other town. So it was just a bunch of black people running around. That's why you don't see black people in any of the old films, because they didn't want anybody to see that what they had done or what they were doing. I mean, they were trying to exterminate everyone. So just be the planet of black people. And brown, and then they would probably kill themselves. Who knows? Anyway, whatever. Yeah, but that's what happened between World War I and World War II.